Truly, I tell you, if you say to this mountain, be taken up and thrown into the sea, and if you do not doubt in your heart, but believe that what you say will come to pass, it will be done for you. Do you want any more power or any greater thing to happen than what was just mentioned? That would give you power to conquer kingdoms, to shut the mouths of lions, quench fire, turn to flight whole armies, raise the dead to life again. Even if your desires exceed this, you need not despair or hesitate to claim their fulfillment. For one greater than you, one who knew whereof he spoke, said, all things can be done for the one who believes. When you are accustomed to this law, you can know positively beforehand just what results will follow your mental thoughts. Wow. When you know this, you can stand secure. Today, April 15th, 2026, recording number 979, entitled, I Stand Secure. Exodus 3:5 says, and he said, draw not nigh hither, put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground. Who would have thought that in this exchange of communication between God and Moses, just by taking off shoes, was binding, was making secure that which God is speaking to? It's sort of like nowadays we talk about having encrypted lines. You know, you can speak to someone and not worry about any foreign power intercepting your call or listening in on your call. You see, the shoes represent something man-made to bring about comfortable walking. Comfortable walking. And you say, well, why wouldn't God want us to have a comfortable existence? And it's not that he does not want us to have a comfortable existence. God is saying, I commune with that which I am without any piece or article of man's understanding put in place. When we draw nigh to God, we take off any condition we set aside that we may be able to interact in that conversation with God, you know, back and forth, so that he can understand where we're coming from. When God is saying, when you set aside that which you have depended on, then the line is secure, and I am communicating with my creation. Wow. Heart to heart. No misunderstanding. When he says to take off the shoes, this is not a command to not approach God's holy presence, but to approach it in an acceptable manner. To approach God. You see, we are all invited to approach God, but there is an acceptable manner. Man approaches God in what we would stipulate a naked position, unclothed of the things of the waking life, of the thoughts of the waking life, of the desires of the waking life, approach God in a manner where there is nothing that separates him from the Creator. Now, when we really, really delve into that understanding, we realize that means then that there's just a pure communication. It's not going to God to get something. That is the mistake, the huge mistake that people make, is going to God to have him fix a situation or have us comfortable in a way that we think we need to be comfortable in. No, it is the realization that we are complete. So we accept God naked from the world, and yet when we remove the sandals or our understanding, it causes us to be clothed in righteousness, because God, being righteous and everything God made, is righteous. See, these are situations, or these are things that we need to contemplate. And as we contemplate these things, we realize the sacred alignment that God has with his creation. We don't create it. We don't attain to it. We are always in that. But it takes our ability to understand that and to what? Remove from us anything that would stand between God's purpose and God's desired perfection to be transferred to us or to flow through us. So we look at shoes. Yeah. Shoes represent our intellect. When the shoes or the intellect is removed, then man is 100% in touch or connected with the universal I am. How hard is it to attain to the realization of what I just said? Well, you'll have to find out. We don't go to God to get, because God fulfilled all things in us before he sent us forth. So therefore, we present ourselves as living sacrifices in what is called the silence. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. We should stop right there and realize, for anything to cast a shadow, there must be light shining upon an object. So therefore, if God being light, that means that light is shining so brightly that it casts a shadow that protects us. And what do? We trustingly abide under the shadow of the Almighty, and the light goes before us to make the way clear. God is therefore saying to us, be ye holy and perfect, by presenting ourselves acceptable. That means present ourselves in the manner of what we are, realizing that the light that shines in darkness, the light that shines in the ignorance or the unknowing that we may have, that light protects us because we have yielded as living sacrifices to the light. It's sort of like a story I heard that darkness complained to God about Jesus always messing with it, always fighting it and knocking it out the way. Now, to keep in mind now, this is just a story. And God tells darkness, well, I'll talk to my son about that, and I'll ask him why he's doing this. Jesus comes in and God says, why are you always, raising yourself above darkness? And Jesus says, who? He says, darkness. And Jesus says, I don't know any darkness. God says, well, whenever you come to darkness, you always push him out of the room. And Jesus says, but I don't see any. I don't see anyone to push out of the room. You see, when light approaches, darkness flees. The light that you are knows nothing of darkness, but darkness knows who you are. The ground being holy and the man being holy is now intimating to us that not only was the bush holy that Moses saw, but the ground and the entire surroundings are holy. When God is recognized as such, it should also be recognized that his holiness incorporates all that exists. So when you look out and you see something that is denoting darkness, you're giving yourself over to a second power. What should I do? Acknowledge that you see it, and then acknowledge that it has no law, that you are on holy ground, that you are looking not only at the bush that does not burn or is being consumed, the bush that burns but is not consumed, but you are also looking at perfection everywhere. This is a profound revelation when the depth of it is understood. I stand on holy ground. When? Always. There is never a time. But I can trick my awareness and make myself believe that something is wrong somewhere and God needs to fix it. And God is saying, no. When you see me, you see that I am not localized. I do not need to be called upon to come and fix a situation, but I can appear to be localized. I am everywhere. When we truly, truly recognize only that holiness is present, this is the truth that must saturate all conscious beings. I was speaking with one of my friends today who was having miscommunications with somebody that he truly highly valued. And it had gone on for some time, and he really, really desired to have that communication back. So what he did was he began to see that person in the communication room with him, to see that person communicating with him, to see the relationship restored, to see that, you guessed what happened. You see, he's henceforth knowing no person after the flesh, and he's looking within his awareness, and he's forming a relationship that he knows deserves to be there. Owe no man anything but love. Are you now asking, you mean I can do that? Yes. With what you call your worst enemy. If you see them in the light of being attached to the same holy ground that you stand on, then they must at some point turn. Why? Because you are shaping a communication, a relationship value, and you're shaping it in the image of that which is pure and perfect. Remember how we opened this? If you shall say unto that mountain, I say, be ye moved, removed, and cast into the sea, and you do not doubt. Where do you see that? You see that in what you call your imagination, but what is in reality? Recognition of your ability to follow after the statement, and God said, let. You form within your conscious awareness the ground upon which you stand. And my I can't think of that word, but in a long about way of saying this, would you like to see what you think is impossible, or that which you have given up on? Would you like to see it turn and become a loving part of your life? To be able to see what you call an enemy, to see them turn and become a loving friend? Yes, this is the ability that you've been given. It's found in the kingdom of heaven, which Jesus says resides within you. You mean I can look within myself and see the situation differently and never say anything to anybody, but truly, truly believe that it is possible? Yes. Why? Because the ground that you stand on is holy, and therefore you stand secure. The only thing that can hinder this relationship or revelation is that which you create, which creates an illusion of separation. In other words, you say, I don't care about that. I don't care if it ever gets fixed. You're creating the illusion. You're creating it. Why? Because what God has joined, see, let no man put asunder. The God has established his link, his everlasting link to every piece of his creation, which are found in conscious awareness, not in the earth. As you look in the earth, you can see all kinds of things deteriorating from the time they come to the time when it looks like termites have torn them apart. Nothing in the earth stays for eternity. But everything joined to God in God's conscious awareness of himself is eternal. That's why we were told, look not at the things which are seen, for they are temporary, but look at that which is not seen, for it is eternal. That is the revelation you crave. That is the revelation you receive, and that is the eternal life that Jesus referred to as knowing the Father. When we approach naked, thereby being clothed by that which is holy. God is. Only God is. That is the question that we ask ourselves. What is it that I want out of following after God? You know, it's like the psalm that says, the heart panteth after thee, after the water brooks. Can you say that you're just looking for a comfortable life? Or are you actually panting after knowing the Creator? Every man has a desire. And every man's desire to be free has led him on various routes, all resulting in his ability to do so. He thinks that isolating himself makes him free till he needs something. He thinks that buying friends makes him free till he runs out of money. He comes up with all these types of things to do into intellect and find that they are temporary at best. They are not satisfying. The scriptures state that God has made man upright, but he, man, has sought out many inventions. Just look around you. Look around you anywhere in this world, and you will see man building on that which he said is perfect. It has gotten to the point now that there are so many advertisements out there declaring this is the perfect remedy for this, and this, that you don't know what to believe. And yet, what does God say? You shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. How much of truth do you want to know? Most people don't want to know truth because in their mind they've also realized that if they know the truth, there are many things they'll have to give up. And they're not willing to give those things up because, what? Right. His mind is always focused on one of three items or subject matters, or all three. What are they? Lust of the eyes, lust of the flesh, or the pride of life. That's it. And because of these three things, man blinds himself to the freedom that Jesus said, you shall know the truth, and that truth will set you free from any enticement that binds. It's Ecclesiastes 7:29. It says, lo, this only have I found. Now, this is Solomon. This only have I found. God has made man upright, but they have sought out many inventions. This is a man that has come from growing up to finding God and then to being persuaded to trust in false gods, and then sitting down and contemplating his life and realizing, out of my whole life, this is what I have found. We need to heed and listen. God hath made man upright, meaning perfect, has endued him with power from on high, and filled him with the very essence of his own being. And man has resisted. It is in and through consciousness that all things are brought about. Everything we see in this world is brought about by the consciousness of someone. Yes, even the trees and water and the formulas and whatnot, all of those things are brought about by the consciousness of God. Furniture, cars, houses, electronics and all that, they are brought about by the consciousness of man who studies the consciousness of the formulas and said things, principles, and they bring them into form. So you can see right now, you can't bring anything into this world except you bring it through your conscious awareness of what it looks like, what it feels like, what it tastes like, what it smells like, and what it sounds like. And then you shape it into a form to bring it forth. That's right. And all of that comes through consciousness. Right here, you should be able to look right now and go, oh my goodness. Everything that exists in my world, I bring about. As a man thinketh, So is he. That's what God said. And it was so. By your words will you be justified, and by your words will you be condemned. And where are these words? That's right. You know, it says, and the word is nigh thee, even in your mouth. All through the Bible, we are given the way that we bring these things into being. And yet we use words so flippantly that we don't even realize we are the jail, we are the jailer, and we have the key. In giving us the ability to think and act like him, we have been given the greatest gift of all, to bring to visible manifestation the ideas and thoughts formed in our consciousness. Did you get it? That's Proverbs 23:7. For as he thinketh in his heart, in his conscience, so is he. This is another profound revelation. See, the things that you see in your consciousness, they form pictures, they form movements, they form feelings, and we look at them and we contemplate them and we settle them in our consciousness, and boom, they show up. So don't ask yourself, why is that person? Why is this situation, this condition? Why are these things having such an adverse effect on my safety, my freedom, my financial, social? That's right. You're creating them. You are creating them. For as he thinketh in his heart, his consciousness, so is he. A man brings forth that which he thinks on. But God says, but his thoughts are not with me. Wow. See the little phrases that are put in the scriptures that we just flip over? But God says, but his thoughts are not with me. So he's telling us that our thoughts are alive. They turn into words energized with the spirit from which they originate. They come forth from the consciousness as spirit and life, or destructive illusions based on how we handle or give them power in conscious contemplation. I'm going to say that again. The things that come forth into our waking experience, they come forth from our consciousness as spirit and life, or in destructive illusions based on how we handle or give them power in conscious contemplation. Only God is. That's the power that you have. Only God is. You have the power of God. You have the power to bring forth. And we carry that isness as the grand gift that it is. When will we stop trying to have a happy life, knowing that this is the gift that has been given to us? When will we turn, or as the scriptures say, repent? That's what the word really means. When will we turn and stop thinking in one way and begin to think in this direction? Repent, draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. As we imagine in our consciousness, the thoughts are alive because of the power from which they originate, and they go forth unto that which we send them. Why are people acting so negatively toward you? No, Rev, I'm not doing this. No, that's not. Yes, you are. If you are not seeing them after the Spirit, you got to be seeing them after something. Henceforth, know we no man after the flesh. Jesus Christ appeared, and we handled him, says the scriptures. We handled Jesus Christ, but now we see him no more after the flesh, but we see him after the Spirit. We see him after the teachings. The visible world in which we inhabit. As we see in that manner, the visible world changes to correspond to what we believe. Our imagination is the machinery by which our life experiences are wrought. Keep the heart with all diligence, for out of it comes the issues of life. Keep in mind, sickness and disease, poverty, and all these things come forth from a conscience that is dwelling not in truth. You need to hear that. We, through the contemplation of our thoughts, bring forth visible issues. At what point will we stop and say, as Jesus said, take this cup, but nevertheless, let thy will be done? What is he saying? I don't want to have a thought that is askew from the thought of truth. Nevertheless, thy will be done. No matter how inconvenient it appears or uncomfortable, I want to think on that which is eternal. Our thoughts are alive within us, waiting or awaiting the feelings that send them forth. That's right. Your feelings send them forth into expression. Remember those times when you just looked at somebody and they knew? Or they looked at you and you knew? That's right. That's just how simple it is. He who seeks will not stop until he finds. When he finds, he will be troubled. And then he will marvel. He will then reign over all. What does that mean? You seek and seek the truth until you find it. And when you find it, you will marvel. You will be troubled. What's the trouble? You mean this is how you do this? This is how this is done? Yes. And when you finally settle down from being troubled of how it's done, you go, oh, wow, you marvel. The end of that man is he reigns over all. What is this find or this reign? He finds that he stands on holy ground. I stand secure.